저는 선생님이에요. 학생이 아니에요. 여자예요. 남자가 아니에요. 사람이에요. 로봇이 아니에요. Today we're going to practice ida and a니다, with most of the focus being on a니다. You've probably heard of a lot of words with this an or ani sound to it, like 아니, 아니요, 안나, 안, 안돼, 아니다, 아니에요, 아니야, and so on. Ani and 아니요 are just the words for no in the polite and casual form. But today we're going to focus on 아니다, which splits into 아니야 and 아니에요. And the rest we'll practice in future videos. Feel free to scroll around with the timestamps below, and let's go ahead and get started. To be or not to be. That is the grammar. In the last video, we learned the casual form of ida, but in case you didn't watch it or have no idea what ida is, here's a quick 1-minute summary. Ida is the plain dictionary form of be. In English, we turn be into am, is, and are in the present tense. Whether we use am, is, or are depends on the subject. I am, you are, he or she is, etc. In Korean, you don't have to worry about the subject-verb agreement rules, and in all cases, you will just use ida. However, you do have to pay attention to whether you're speaking formally or informally, and whether or not the word that comes before it ends in a vowel or a consonant. In formal present tense Korean, ida will change into i에요 or 예요. So just like in the last video, how would you say it is water? 물 이에요. 물이에요. How about it is a chair? 의자 예요. 의자예요. However, ida in casual or informal Korean becomes either 이야 or 야. So now, as if talking to your friend, how would you say it is water? 물이야. It is a chair? 의자야. If you want more practice on ida, check out lesson 1 for formal practice and or lesson 15 for informal practice. But now, let's move on to the reason you came to this video. 아니다, to not be. I added be here to emphasize that 아니다 is only used with nouns, not verbs. In other words, you can use it to say something like, I am not a doctor, but you'll use a different grammar point to say a sentence like, I'm not working today, or I do not study on Saturdays. We'll get to that grammar point in the future, but for now, let's learn how to make sentences with 아니다. The sentence pattern you'll need for today is noun plus the subject particle, 이 or 가, 이 for words that end with a consonant, and 가 for words that end with a vowel, plus 아니다. 아니다, like ida, is the plain dictionary form, so we need to learn how to conjugate it into polite or casual form. In polite form, 아니다 will become 아니에요. And in casual form, it will become 아니야. I'll be sticking to polite form throughout this whole video, but feel free to practice casual form if you prefer. So here's our pattern. Noun plus 이 or 가, 아니에요. And keep an eye out for the common spelling mistake of 아니에요. Let's say you're walking along a sidewalk with your coworker and you guys see an animal. Oh look, it's a cat, your coworker says, and reaches out to pet it. 잠깐만요. How would you say it's not a cat? Let's start with cat, 고양이, which ends with a vowel, so we will then add the subject particle 가, 고양이가, plus not, 아니에요. 고양이가 아니에요. 잠깐만요. 고양이가 아니에요. Now, something to note here is that when speaking, the subject particle is very often dropped from sentences with 아니다, meaning that you could just say 고양이 아니에요. If you want to practice it this way, feel free, but I'm going to keep it in throughout the video because I feel that it's a lot easier to learn the proper particle usage and then to drop them as they become more natural to you, rather than to learn the correct particle usage after you're already in the habit of not using particles. For that reason, we're going to spend a few minutes practicing adding 이 and 가 to nouns so that it becomes muscle memory. I'll give you 10 nouns and I want you to add e to words that end with a consonant and ka to words that end with a vowel. And there's no rush here, so take it as slowly as you need and pause if you need more time. Let's start with 의자. 의자, 가. 차. 차가. 물. 물이. 나무. 나무가. 가방. 가방이. 컴퓨터. 컴퓨터가. 개. 개가. 돈. 돈이. 모자. 모자가. 공. 공이. Now let's go ahead and finish these sentences by adding 아니에요. Starting with, it's not a chair. 의자가 아니에요. It's not a car. 차가 아니에요. It's not water. 물이 아니에요. It's not a tree. 나무가 아니에요. It's not a bag. 가방이 아니에요. It's not a computer. 컴퓨터가 아니에요. It's not a dog. 개가 아니에요. It's not money. 돈이 아니에요. It's not a hat. 모자가 아니에요. It's not a ball. 공이 아니에요. Alright, let's just try 4 sentences from scratch. How about, it's not a book. 책이 아니에요. It's not paper. 종이가 아니에요. It's not a bag. 가방이 아니에요. It's not my bag. 제 가방이 아니에요. And remember that 제 is just an abbreviation of 저희. 저 plus the possessive particle 의. New word time. We've got 핸드폰, which comes from the English word hand and phone, aka cell phone. You might also hear 휴대폰, which is exactly the same meaning, but I most often hear 핸드폰, or even often you'll just hear 폰. But today, let's just stick with 핸드폰. Next, we've got 시계, clock. And even though it's spelled like 시계, the pronunciation is just 시계. Next, we've got 창문, window, 창문. 문, door, 문. 베개, pillow, 베개. And finally, 이불, blanket, 이불. You might also have heard of 담요, which is generally a thinner, lighter blanket that you might snuggle up with on the couch, for example, or take a nap with. Alright, let's get these words up here and let's try. It's not a clock. 시계가 아니에요. It's not a pillow. 베개가 아니에요. It's not a cell phone. 핸드폰이 아니에요. It's not a blanket. 이불이 아니에요. It's not a door. 문이 아니에요. It's not a window. 창문이 아니에요. What is that object right there? Well, it's not a clock. 시계가 아니에요. And it's not a window. 창문이 아니에요. And it's not a cell phone. 핸드폰이 아니에요. Oh, I know, it's a door. Can you remember how to make this kind of sentence? 문이에요. Remember that 이다, to be, splits into 이에요 and 예요. Okay, what about that thing? What is that thing called again? Well, it's not a door, we just saw one of those. 문이 아니에요. And I'm pretty sure it's not a cell phone, even though cell phones can also tell time. 핸드폰이 아니에요. And it's definitely not a blanket, that would be uncomfortable. 이불이 아니에요. Oh, I know, it's a clock. 시계예요. And because 시계 ends with a vowel, we're going to add 예요 this time. 시계예요. Following this pattern now, let's put this 베개 right here and go ahead and say 3 things it's not, followed by what it is. For example, 핸드폰이 아니에요. 창문이 아니에요. 시계가 아니에요. 베개예요. Go ahead and pause and make 3 of your own 아니에요 sentences, followed by 베개예요. Alright, let's practice switching back and forth between 아니다 and 이다. Let's get our sentence patterns up here. And go ahead and try to say, it's not a cell phone, it's a clock. I'll give you about 8 seconds, but pause if you need more time. 핸드폰이 아니에요. 시계예요. It's not a blanket, it's a pillow. 이불이 아니에요. 베개예요. It's not a window, it's a door. 창문이 아니에요. 문이에요. And finally, let's wrap this up with mini game time. Out of these 3 items right here, you will guess which one I'm thinking of by listening to my hints. For example, 문이 아니에요. 핸드폰이 아니에요. 정답은 베개예요. Got it? Here we go. Round 1. 베개가 아니에요. 문이 아니에요. 정답은 핸드폰이에요. Round 2. Let's add one more item. 베개가 아니에요. 시계가 아니에요. 핸드폰이 아니에요. 정답은 이불이에요. Round 3. 5 items this time. 문이 아니에요. 창문이 아니에요. 베개가 아니에요. 이불이 아니에요. 정답은 핸드폰이에요. Final round. Here are 5 items from earlier in the video. If you're not familiar with these items in Korean, then here they are on screen if you want to pause real quick because they're going to disappear in 3, 2, 1. Alright. 나무가 아니에요. 돈이 아니에요. 컴퓨터가 아니에요. 차가 아니에요. 정답은 가방이에요. And finally, here is a quick summary of everything we went over today. 이다, to be, conjugates into 이에요 and 예요 in the polite formal form, and 이야 and 야 in the casual informal form. However, we spent most of our time today on 아니다, to not be, which is exclusively used with nouns, not verbs. 아니다 will conjugate into 아니에요 in polite formal form, and 아니야 in casual informal form. We focused today on polite form, which means we only practiced these guys right here. To use 아니에요 in a sentence, you will first say noun plus the subject particle 이 or 가, then add 아니에요. The subject particle attaches directly to the noun, and there is a space between the subject particle and 아니에요. However, when speaking, this subject particle often gets dropped. So instead of saying something like 핸드폰이 아니에요, you can just say 핸드폰 아니에요. We practiced with the subject particle today because I always find it's easier to learn the particles the proper way and then to drop the particles later as you become familiar with the language, rather than learning where and how to add the particles later. Here's all of the vocabulary that we went over today, and it will also be in the description box below. Great job as always, and I'll see you guys in the next video. 다음에 또 봐요. 로봇이 아니에요. 로봇이 아니에요. 아니에요.